is thank you to our sponsor, Gippsland Quarries. Today I'd like to introduce Michelle O'Neill. Michelle O'Neill of Cherry Tree Equine helps people buy their first horse, to getting them over their fears, to helping them commence competing. Michelle teaches privately as well as horse industry at TAFE, New South Wales. She has her own column in Horsewise magazine called Ask Michelle and is the co-producer of the DVD, Please, Can I Have a Pony? Please welcome Michelle O'Neill to our arena.
Thanks everybody. Who here is at Equitana for the first time? Cool. Who here doesn't have a horse yet? Awesome. Okay. Well, hopefully I'll give you a few tips today about what to do when you're looking for a horse. And the big thing is, you know, all of you who are really, really keen to get your first horse, all of you who are really, really keen to get involved in horse riding, you know what, I know exactly where you are. I was once that horse-mad kid who every Christmas, every birthday, dreamed that there would be a pony sitting for me under the Christmas tree. I'm a little bit lucky. I did get that pony, and then I got another pony, and another pony, and another pony. And these days horses are my living. And you know what? Anyone can do what I've got to do. All you've got to do is pretty much believe in yourself and believe in the fact that you love horses enough to go on and do what you want to do. So if you're looking for your first horse, there's lots and lots of ways that you can prepare yourself before you ever even go and look at an actual horse. The first thing that I'd recommend you do is make sure you're ready for a horse. Now, contrary to what everybody believes, you can't keep your pony in your backyard. And I have a friend who's here today who has a stall, and she was telling me, she lives in Sydney, in the middle of Sydney, and she was telling me that she had a lady approach her one day and say, oh, I'm going to buy little Billy Joe a horse. And she's like, right, that's fantastic, great. Where are you going to keep your horse? And the mother said, oh, in the backyard. Well, you know what, that might work until the horse runs through the washing, eats all mum's flowers, you know, leans over the neighbour's fence and eats their prized roses. You know, all that stuff is when things tend to come a little bit unstuck. So what you've got to do is be ready. Go and find a bit of information out about keeping your first horse. You know, and I would really recommend you go and you get a lot of riding lessons at a riding school. You know, get to know your horses. I've got a friend over here who's volunteering. She's going to die when I do this. And this young lady, she actually had horses as a kid. Her family had horses. She got out of horses. She's decided she wants to get back into them. Has she gone out and bought a horse? No. She's been going to a riding school for at least a year while she's decided whether or not she's really ready to go and get her new first horse. Right? And that is a fantastic way to do things. You know, she's really thinking about it. And what she's actually got to do now is she's going to go and ride 3 horses with another lady. So that means she's actually going to get to be in charge of horses again. She's gone beyond that riding school situation. She's now stepped up to where she can go and she can actually experience and remember what it's like to look after all her own horses and what it's like to have to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning, no matter what the weather's like or what else she's got on for the day. She has to be there and be ready to do that. So she's going through things the right way, and that is what I really recommend you do. I really recommend you start out at a riding school. Get to know your horse. And don't go to a riding school where the horse is saddled up and you just jump on and trot off down the pen. Go to a riding school where you actually get to learn how to brush the horse, how to kick the horse's feet out, how to saddle the horse. As I said in the intro, I'm a teacher with TAFE New South Wales. The most common fear my students have is picking up their horse's feet. And I'm talking about grown adults. Okay, we have to go step by step through picking up a horse's hind feet. The reason why they're scared of it is because nobody has ever shown them how to do it. Okay, so go to a school where you can learn all of that stuff. Now, what you can do if you're really lucky, and this, I'm happy to say, is how I got my first pony. When I had pestered and pestered and pestered my parents for years and nearly driven them fast, we actually leased my first pony. Now, I was really lucky. We knew people who had a really great old bomb-proof pony. By the way, I still managed to fall off that pony and break my arm. However, he was a great pony. He'd done it, he'd been around kids. That old pony, he got me started. And it gave my parents the chance for me to prove how keen I was. The other thing, and I often tell this story at my clinics, the other thing my parents did to me, or for me, I wanted to be a horse rider, but I also decided I wanted to go dancing. So, I had a choice. It was one or the other. I couldn't do both. And so what they did, they took me to the dance school up in Chittagong. And they let me go and experience what a dance lesson was like. And then they said, right, here's your choice. We get a pony or you go dancing. Luckily for the dancing world, I went horse riding. Unfortunately for my parents' wallets, I went horse riding. So there were pros and cons on both sides. And any of my friends will tell you I can't dance, so I'm very lucky I'm so good horse riding. But this is the thing, you know, I see so many kids today who are overcommitted. You know, they think, you know, we're also taught these days that we can do and be it all. You know, the sky is the limit. Yeah, sure it is. I encourage everyone, you know, to do everything that they want to do. But remember, you're dealing with a living animal. You're dealing with a living being that needs caring for. He needs his feet trimming every 6 weeks. He needs to be fed every day. He needs water every day. If you cannot put that time and commitment into having a horse, I suggest you go dancing. You know, we see so many cases. I was talking to my farrier last week, and he was telling me, we've got a lot of green grass and we're really lucky, we're having a great season. He feels like charging people extra every time they ring him up with a laminating pony. Now, I'm not having a go at anybody with a laminating pony, I'm really not. But as he said to me, there is no excuse if you are prepared. And this is his thing. He is seeing so many of his clients who are just not thinking about the fact they have a living animal to look after. Okay? And a horse isn't like a goldfish. You know, if your goldfish feels over in the tank, you just scoop them out and throw them away. They don't die that easily, and you need to make sure they're looked after. Okay? And that we used to retrain a lot of horses. There are a lot of horses that people had for their kids, and their kids had lost interest. And so we used to take those horses and rehome them. You know what, those people were doing a wonderful thing for those horses. They weren't letting them sit in the paddock and rot away to nothing. And any of you who've ever come across a horse that is sitting in the paddock doing nothing, that might suit some young rider out there or some beginner adult rider, you know, please lease it out to somebody. I've been guilty of it. I thought, well, my horse, you know, I'm off the farm. You know, we've got a couple of 1,000 acres. Grass isn't a problem for us. So I used to think all my horses would stay with me forever. You know what? I deprived some other little kid of a really fantastic horse by thinking that. You know, that these days I would never. I actually, one of my all-time favourite horses is currently leased out to a little boy. Free lease. He's still mine. I'll never sell him. But he was only going to sit in the paddock and do nothing. That little boy, he wouldn't be going to pony club if I hadn't lent him that horse. The horse is loved, he's looked after, the horse he's having a ball, he gets his feet trimmed, he gets the chiropractor, he gets his teeth done. He has a perfect life. But if he was left me, he'd be sitting in the paddock doing nothing. So I really encourage people, if you've got a really nice horse, or, you know, and what nice, I don't mean pretty, I don't know if you've noticed, this horse is a lovely horse, but he didn't exactly come straight from a beauty parlour, you know? And And pretty is as pretty does. And I bring him over to you guys so you can really see. He's not mine. I borrowed him. He's a beautiful horse in every way except his ear. And guess what? I don't care. If I can ride him out here and he's going to keep me safe and all you guys can see the sort of things you should be looking at, this horse has done his job for the day. You know, unless you want to go and be a royal show rider or, you know, do something like that. We have a saying in the Western world, pretty is as pretty does, you know, and as far as horses and beginner riders, pretty doesn't do a whole heap, you know. And you know, this horse, he's, you know, he's a lovely horse, he's very well trained, but he's not pretty. But this is the thing, I see so many people who would go to look for their first horse and they would look at this horse and they would go, oh, he's not very attractive. Oh, look at that head. Guess what? That head isn't going to help you at all if you're a beginner rider. You know, he can be as ugly as, but if he keeps you safe, what more could you ask for? Okay? And this is the other thing, when you're looking for a beginner horse, when you're getting started on your first horse, I would forgive if I went to look at a horse and let's say he was a little bit bent in one leg or he had an injury in his hip. I would forgive that, okay? But they don't have to be conformationally correct when they're for a beginner, okay? And you can get a horse vet checked. I have no issue with that at all. But just remember, they don't have to really come with flying colours in a vet check. If you're going out to buy a World Cup show jumper, sure, getting vet checked, you're going to need it. But you're not going to ask that horse to do that sort of level of performance. You're going to ask that horse to be your best friend. And that's what's so important. You need to go and find a horse that is going to stick with you and is going to be your best friend. And he's going to do everything you want to do. And of course, as every beginner rider improves, what's going to happen is they're going to try different disciplines. They're going to do lots of different things. You need a horse that's going to do all of that. Now, I'm riding over here for a reason. Standing here in front of me in the horsewise cap, if she waves to everybody, is my dear friend Sophie Campbell. Now, I'll tell you an interesting story about a horse Sophie had. Sophie's best friend was a beautiful horse called Dusky. Now, Dusky was one of those horses that everybody deserves to own in their life. He did everything. That horse did every event Sophie asked him to do. I even saw him one day barrel race backwards. The whole way through a barrel racing pattern. You know, and that's the sort of connection you guys are looking for with your first horse. My first horse that we owned, not the pony release that broke my arm, my first horse that we owned was a bay girlie called Laddie. Now, Laddie looked a little bit like this bloke, okay? He was never, ever going to win a beauty contest. He had a split ear. But you know what? I love that horse so much. And he taught me so much. I had so much fun with him. We did everything. And you know, he never let me down. And I think he cost a grand total of $300. That might actually give away my age a little bit. So I probably shouldn't tell you that. But, and that's the next thing I really want to talk about, is price. Sadly, I believe, to a large extent, the days of buying a $300 kids pony are gone. You get lucky. Everybody gets lucky. I hope you all get lucky. I hope every one of you who wants to buy your first horse is lucky enough to buy one that you love as much as I love Laddie, and it only costs you $300. But these days, they cost a lot more. And a friend of mine put it to me the other day, it's a bit of, you get what you pay for. Now, I'm not telling you guys you're going to have to go out and spend $15,000 or $20,000, although my friend Tim Dreverman over here at Horse Sign will definitely help you do that. But you don't have to spend that sort of money. You get on these sorts of websites and you have a look, and you will find a horse out there for reasonable money that, you know, that is going to keep you safe. And I say a lot in my clinics, I have a big thing in my clinics, what price on your child's safety? riding or getting back to riding, and I deal with a lot of women who are coming back to riding after having children and all that sort of stuff, like I've had to do. I say to them, can you afford to have 6 weeks off work because you've got a broken arm? You know, not many of us can do that. No, I can see heads shaking. If any of you have got kids, do you want to chase around your kids for 6 weeks with a broken arm? You know, and this thing, I'm not saying accidents don't happen. Okay, I've got plenty of scars that will tell you accidents do happen. But the thing is, you can minimise the chance of that accident happening. And by being a little bit sensible and being a little bit cautious. You just need to look around. And you need to be prepared to spend a little bit of money. I actually am at the point now with my business. If someone comes to me and says, I want a beginner kids pony for $300 or $500, I just go, I can't help you. Because those horses don't get sold, or they're sold by word of mouth. You won't find one of those on wholesale. But you will find a really nice horse for a couple of $1,000. And like I said, that's the thing. Remember, pretty is as pretty does. If you went and looked at this horse as a beginner's horse, and I'll talk a bit about this horse in a minute, but if you went and looked at this horse as a beginner's horse, most people are going to walk straight past him because he's got a slightly unaesthetic head, and he's kind of a plain old chestnut colour. So most people are going to walk past him. Whereas most people get on the website and they scroll, and we all do it. And there's not a horse person here who can't tell me to do it. We scroll through the pictures, and the first horse that catches our eye is the one with 4 white socks and big white blaze. That's right. You know, we all do. Oh, look, and I can laugh. I've had 2 foals born in the last couple of weeks at home. One is a pretty little buckskin. Buckskin, stutter and snip, 2 white socks. Pretty as a picture. Last week, we had a plain chestnut filly, not a white hair on her. What did my other half say when he saw her? Oh no, not another plain chestnut. But at the end of the day, it's only white markings. It doesn't affect what's up here between their ears or what's in under here, under their girth. Okay? Now, if you want to go and talk about buying a horse, I must give a little plug for this horse. This horse actually belongs to Bruce O'Dell. Obviously, you guys aren't watching the Way of the Horse right now, but Bruce is up there right now in the Way of the Horse doing his best. This is Bruce O'Dell's horse. Anyone who was here on Thursday saw Bruce's demo on Thursday. This is the horse he rode. This horse is 2 years old. This is not the horse I would buy for a beginner. He's a lovely horse, and in 5 years' time or 8 years' time, he might be a fantastic beginner's horse. I would not buy this horse for a beginner today. When I was warming him up outside, the Sport Horse Association were warming their horses up to. Lovely group of people. Can't speak highly of them enough. They're happy, they smile, they're really great. You try and get 20-odd horses cantering flat stick up and down the warm-up around when you're riding a 2-year-old. He's been 2 places in his life. Okay? No beginner wants to put up with that. Okay? And what happens is, people go and get these sorts of horses, and then, a few weeks later, I get a phone call going, when have you got a confidence clinic on? Because I'm too scared to ride my horse. So this is the thing, save yourself a step. Sure, confidence clinics, I'd love to see you all. You know, that's how it ends. But, save yourself the grief and come to a clinic feeling confident. Don't come to a clinic because you bought a horse that you're scared to death of riding. This is a beautiful horse. Okay? I can't speak highly enough of Bruce and Jane O'Dell and their training techniques, and I can't speak highly enough of this horse. I just would recommend you go and buy a young horse for a beginner. And that's that thing, I hear it a lot. People say to me, oh, my daughter wants a horse. My neighbour's got this really lovely 2-year-old unbroken pony. And I go, great. You know, how about you think about another one? You know, sure, when the kid is older, when there's more experience, fantastic. You know, I think I rode my first horse in when I was 16. I didn't do a very good job, but I did do it. You know, like, there's time for that later on. Kids or adults who are getting their first horse, getting into riding, need to be confident. I can't stress enough how important it is to maintain people's confidence. You know, anyone who's seen those little kids ride, you know, when they're little kids and they're game is game is game, and they go 100 miles everywhere they go, flat stick, no fear whatsoever. Okay? And then they get a gut sack, and they get another gut sack, and they get another gut sack. And suddenly, and I have had clients where this has happened, suddenly the kid is crying every time they get on the horse. That confidence is gone. It is so hard to get back. Okay? And even as an adult, you know, as adults, you know, you ask any adult horse rider, what's their greatest fear? What's all your greatest fears? Falling off, you know. So get an experienced horse. Get a horse that's been around a little bit. You know, this guy here, he's been to one event. We went to an event 2 weeks ago. You know, and anyone who's here on Thursday heard Bruce say he grew 4 hands. You know, he was like, whoa, what's going on? And you can get an old competition horse. A horse has been out and done a lot of stuff. That's fantastic. Because they're just used to so much stuff. There's nothing that you can throw at them that will faze them. You know, it's one of those things where they've seen it all and done it all before. Have anyone seen on TV lately there's an ad advertising how important senior people are? It's about fighting age discrimination in employment. You know, we need to make an ad like that for horses. And when you go to buy a horse, so many people come to me and say, oh, okay, so I want a little pony for Jimmy, but the little pony can't be any older than 9. Why? Beginner ponies are fantastic when they're 24, if they're looked after, 30 even. That you don't need a young horse. You don't even know. What's to say you might buy a horse for your son or your daughter? They might get 5 years into horse riding and decide they want to become a dancer. So, you know, you've got a horse that you can give on to somebody else at that point. But you might have a horse that is just ready to retire. You don't have to buy a young horse. The older the horse, the 9 times out of 10, the more experienced and more fun you're going to have with them. Because I don't know about you guys, but the reason why I got into horses and the reason why I ride is because it's fun. And sometimes we lose that. Sometimes we lose the fact that this is our enjoyment. You know, sure, you can be lucky enough to be like Sophie, Tim and I and turn it into your job as well. But last time I looked, I couldn't see much point doing anything that wasn't fun. You guys, if you had a job that you hated, you look for another one. And it's the same with your horses. I will never tell anyone just to give up on a horse. I really believe you should give a horse every benefit that you can. But ultimately, if that horse is not for you, let someone else enjoy it. Yeah. There are so many horses out there. It is not worth wasting time about. And I've had some bad ones. I've had some amazingly good ones. But you can't wait and wait for horses to improve. You know, maybe it's just a personal thing. I have had horses that I just could not get along with. I have had horses, I've had a couple of horses over the years that have been great horses. And I couldn't get anything done with them. I really couldn't. I could get stuff done with them, but not to the level that I wanted. So I sold those horses on to somebody else. And those horses have gone on to be really nice horses. Those people have gone on and had a lot of fun with them. But they just were not the horse for me. Now, when you go to look at a horse, see these horses are amazing. Even though we've been cracking jokes about him being a young horse and all the rest, look how calm he is. Okay?
This is her giveaway.
Look at his ears. Look at his eyes. Look at he just has that nice, relaxed look. I'm only walking him around so I can talk to all of you. But this is the sort of thing you want to see when you go and look at a horse. If you turn up to look at a horse and that horse is got its head up, it's nervous, it's twitchy, it's fiddly, it's running over its handler, that's not a first horse for anybody. Okay? You're better off to leave that horse where it is. You know, this is what you're looking for, calm and quiet. This horse had to walk in through all those people over there. He did it without a problem in the world. He was relaxed about it. This is what we want. And this is what you should be looking for. Look at him. He's just flicking his ears. He's casual. Perfect. When I ask him to walk on, he does it happily. He's happy to do whatever I ask him to do. If I pick up on a rein and turn him, he's soft, he's light, nothing is an issue. If I pick up on this rein and turn him, he's soft, he's light, again, nothing is an issue. If I sit down and ask him to stop, he does it easily. Now remember again, if you're going to look for a beginner horse, you don't need a horse with a beautiful head carriage. You don't need him collected. You just need him willing and soft. And this is a beautiful and willing and soft horse. The flies are in his face, they're not worrying him. I can walk him over here, I can steer him wherever I want to do, and he is happy to do it. He might have a look through his eyes, but that's okay. He's in a strange place. If you were looking at this horse in his home paddock, he shouldn't even bat an eyelid. If he wants to look over there, I pick him up and turn him. See how willing he is just to walk away. Okay? You could forgive this horse if he had some gait abnormalities. He might paddle a little bit. You know, he might have a bit of a funny walk. That's okay, that doesn't matter. Again, remember, we're not looking for a performance horse. We're looking for a horse that's going to keep you safe and you're going to have fun on. Something that's really important, you go and look for all these things, and we've all done it. I've done it. We go to look at a horse, we are so excited. It's the first horse we've gone and looked at. We've been waiting so long to go and look at this horse. So we turn up.
Yes, I appreciated the shout out.
We've got the horse now. So many things have already just gone wrong.
Standing over there.
Don't ever go and look at a horse on your own. And don't ever go and take the horse flight. How easy is it? You've travelled 5 hours to look at a horse. You get there. You've got the horse flesh. You've got the cash in your pocket. You can smell the horse flesh. You can smell the leather. You swing your leg on and the horse starts to jump around and dance and fidget. But it's okay. You're so excited. You're finally getting to ride a horse. At that moment is when you're likely to ride a horse that in 6 weeks' time you're going to be going, oh, I think I've made a mistake. I always tell my clients, if I'm not with them, I always tell them, take someone with you. Take someone with you and leave the horse float behind. You can go back. Let's be honest. If you're spending $5,000 on a horse, as an example, if you're spending $5,000 on a horse and you have to drive 5 hours to get there, and to all of you, all of those parents in the audience who haven't got horses yet, this is really bad, you might want to block your ears. That's going to be the cheapest part of the whole experience. You've already seen what happens here. You know, it's pretty easy to spend a lot of money very quickly. So that $5,000 and that trip to buy that horse, they're the cheapest things you spend money on for the next 20 years. So go back. Go and look at the horse, take your own gear, take your own saddle. This is my saddle. I love this saddle 8 hours to be here because I wanted to ride a horse that I had never ridden before yesterday. I wanted to ride in my saddle. That's what you guys should do too. But go back and look and pick it up another day. Put a deposit on it, whatever you have to do, but go back another day. Now make sure the friend that you take with you, think carefully about the friend. Who here knows somebody who's a horse collector? Who here knows someone who has to have 5, 10, some of you might be horse collectors. You know, you've got, 5, 10, 15 horses to paddock. That's not the person to take with you when you go and look at your first horse. Because they're going to be having horse envy, they're going to be thinking, oh, gee, I really like to buy that horse. So they're going to convince you to buy it. They're going to project what they want.
I'll see you later.
So find someone else. I'm really hoping by the time you go and look at your first horse, you've already got a fantastic instructor behind you, whatever discipline you're in, or if you have no discipline at all. If you know somebody who's a really good horse person, or somebody who's a really good instructor, take them with you. I take my mum. Because there's nothing, obviously, we've been to a few horses over the years. She seen me spend a lot of money, and she's seen me spend a lot of her money too. She's the easiest one about to talk me out of buying any horse. I'd never take my father, because he just wouldn't let me buy any horse. But find someone like that. Find someone who's going to give you an honest opinion, and who's not going to have a vested interest in the horse. They're great people to keep with you throughout your whole journey. Because you are going to need a lot of people with you on this horse journey. I'm really lucky. Over the years, I've collected a fantastic farrier, a fantastic dentist, a fantastic vet, a fantastic sponsor. I've been really lucky to put a lot of really good people around me. It's only taken a lot of years. But that's what you need to do. And the biggest thing I have is I have a lot of fantastic horsey friends. And they're not all in my discipline, they don't all do what I do, they're not all instructors, some of them are clients, but they're still my friends. And those are the people that I turn to when things are going a little bit pear-shaped. They're the people that when I'm a little bit lost or a little bit frustrated, they're the people I turn to. And I actually have a fantastic instructor. I'm really, really lucky to have a wonderful man by the name of Ian Francis, who helps me a lot with my horses and my dog. So even I recognise that I need a lot of help. The only problem is he's in another state, I'm flying down, and, so I organise, I really can't. This is the sort of thing you guys might have to do. I organise clinics for him. And everyone thinks I'm really kind. They think I'm doing a wonderful job and I'm really nice, so I organise these clinics so they can come to these clinics. I've started to tell them, sorry guys, I actually organised it so I can get some help. You know what? Guess what? It's happy to make some money. So everyone benefits. So it's the connections that you make. It's the connections that you make that will help you. Jamie's about enough of this now. Now, I hope you really want to. Has anyone got any questions?
Say no, that was fine when you saw them. How do you deal with something like that?
The question for everybody who can't hear, the question is, the young lady is going to buy her first horse very soon. I hope you've got lots of money in the bank now. But she's going to buy her first horse very soon. She's a little bit concerned that she may be sold a horse that is drugged, and she's a little bit concerned what she can do about that. It's really tough. I have seen people do it. It's why I started the business. It's why we started Territory Club, because we can see it happening. There is no surefire way. I've sold a horse a few years ago and if you bought it on drug test, which was fine by me. My vet actually told me that the cost of the drug test was phenomenal. So he just ran a normal blood test just to make sure everything was normal. You have rights, and there is it's actually it's reasonable time for purchase. Okay, so if you buy a horse today and tomorrow you go and it's a start growing and it's completely different to the horse you bought, that is within reasonable time. We sold a horse a few years ago. About 3 months later, but he never bucked me. 3 months later, he bucked. And I talked to the lady, and she went to me a friend. I talked to the lady, we talked about, I didn't take the horse back, because as I said to her, in 3 months you could do a lot of damage to that horse. So you have to be a little bit realistic. A week, yeah. And so I didn't talk about his trials, and I talk about leasing horses, I didn't talk about trials. We have never particularly, I gave one trial once and got stuck quite badly. I will not ever give another one, but what I do say to anybody who buys a horse office is, I won't let the horse off one place, but you can come and ride it as often as you like. So, and that's what I do, especially if you're going to travel a very long way. I would go there, go to a hotel, and I'll go a couple of days. If the seller is not happy for you to do that, that's not a horse you want. Yeah. Like I said, there are so many good horses out there. Does that help? Does anyone have something else that we can do? Okay, as someone mine says, that worries me, because I've been doing a really, really good job. I didn't explain anything at all. Yeah, trials are a little bit of a tricky one. I think you should always ask for a trial if you don't know the horse. Always ask. There's no harm in asking. The person's only going to say no, and then you're going to go on and look elsewhere. It's one of those things. I think if you ever go somewhere and the seller is being difficult and is not being obliging, that's not the person you want to have yourself. Go and find someone. And don't get me wrong, everybody has their bad days. Anyone who's got to do with me, I'll tell you why I have bad days when you're running too. Probably tomorrow, after being here all week. But it's, everybody, but there's no need for sellers to be rude. And they should be obliging. And the other thing I really recommend when you go, get there early. I can't tell you how many people turned up at our store with a horse when we're selling them regularly, and they were 2 hours late. We're saying the other day, if you turn up late, it just means you value your time more than you think the other person does. And it puts me on the back foot straight away as a seller. I'm probably less likely to be negotiable on price. So be on time, but if you can be early, you really, really, really want to see your potential new horse in the paddock. So if you can get there before it's tied up at the rail ready to go, you're that step ahead. And ask to see it driven by the seller. You don't want to, if you turn up there and you say, will you ride? And they say no, it's time to go. So thank you very much for your time. Have a lovely day. It's, we see a lot of people who just get caught. And a lot of people tell you to not worry for a dealer. I don't have a problem with dealers because technically we were one at one point. But find someone who other people recommend. You know, word of mouth of this horse run is awesome. Whether it's word of mouth about a good farrier, a good vet, a good instructor. A lot of my work comes through word of mouth these days. They're the sort of people that you want. You know, when someone comes recommended, then you know you're going to
She got it here. Yeah, she's going to
There's a lady here.
looks like I'm missing a meeting.
6 months ago. She got online and checked it out. She got online and found out what she was doing. You know, these days, it's an amazing world. You can find a lot of stuff out there. And she got on and checked me out. She bought a horse sight unseen. I thought about that. She got a horse sight unseen. So she wanted to know that I was who I said I was, and the horse would be what I said he would be. And that's sight unseen. It is the words that put shivers up my spine. I don't care whether you're a beginner rider or you own 40 horses. Sight unseen is fraught with danger. And if you have had a horse for a week and then to be body sight unseen. That could be touchy. So I would definitely make sure you check it out. And I was selling a horse recently. One of my former competition horses, the horse that, the sort of horse we're talking about, the horse that had done everything, he'd been everywhere, he's a beautiful quiet horse, and we decided to actually we put him on market. A lady from Victoria rang me, and I, as a seller, actually asked around and found out about that lady. Because I was being so picky about her. Nothing wrong with the horse, as it turns out, because I really like him so much and kept him. So, that's something else. And the other thing is, guys, auctions. 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 I would not buy a riding horse at an auction. I don't like selling horses at auction, and I would not buy a riding horse at an auction. And that's the other thing, when we talk about reasonable time, from what I understand of the legislation, if you buy a horse at auction, done and dusted, bad luck. You could get home and its front leg could be glued on with sticky tape. You bought it. So, auctions are different. So yeah, what you have to then do is go through the legal process and actually go after the person. But you have no reasonable time for auction. I don't like auctions. Just not happy. I have never bought a horse at auction. I'm looking at my mum because I'm not sure of her. And here you go, all you poor horsey people who are about to get into the world of horsing. Look at me, I'm still not going to tell you how old I am. My mum is still travelling around with me. And she's still my number one groom. She's, I don't know. And as you can all see, she's currently number one babysitter as well. So that's Spencer, that's my 11-month-old son. So yeah, guess what, horsey mums? It doesn't always stop forever. And any of you who watched the barrel race yesterday, my mate Dale Edwards, who got second in the barrel race, her mum was here grooming for her too. So there's no way out of it. And yeah, you too. Yeah, there's no way out of it for you too. And I can see your kids nodding because they're like, yeah, we're never going to let home. And we're never going to get rid of our horsey mums. Has anyone else got any more questions? Yes. I was just being asked if I'm going to be anywhere after this. I will be after this. I will be actually down at the motorbike stand. I think that's straight from here. I have a room, an unpaid room, an unpaid room, most of my room is unpaid, who is going to take the horse all straight there. And the other thing is, you guys, I must tell you all, if you think you might like to know a little bit more about what we do, as the Australian Barrel Horse Association are having a raffle, this is a little bit distant thing. The Australian Barrel Horse Association are having a raffle. Cherry Tree Equine have actually donated a private clinic for up to 10 people to the raffle, which is valued at about $900. So the ABHA stand is 416, I think. There's also a heap of other great prizes. The Highest Country Horse Companies have donated trail rides through the Snowy Mountains, like treks, camping treks. Ginnebon Equestrian Resort have donated accommodation packages. I am happy to travel wherever you are if you happen to win my prize. You just got to help me get there, that's all. But the clinic is definitely free. So that will be drawn next week. But if anyone is interested in finding out a little bit more about what we do, they also have some flyers on what we do, have some packs, and I will be at the motorbike stand. And in the intro, they talked about the fact that we did a little horse-wise. I had a bit of a heart attack with a horse. And a couple of years ago, Horsewise magazine and Cherry Tree Equine got together, and we produced a DVD which is called Please Can I Have a Pony? It is for sale on the Horsewise stand. It's a fantastic little DVD. buying your first horse. Even if you just got your first horse, because it's all about horse care and about horse handling and all that basic stuff that I wish someone had put on the DVD when I started. So that is there. And like I said, I do write for Horsewise magazine. If any of you ever have a question, and you don't have to be here to write in. If any of you do have a question, write into Horsewise magazine. We pick 2 or 3 every magazine, and I will answer them. And not only that, actually gets me contacts from my wife with record. So you can always find them. We're actually currently just doing up a new website. So. But I do have one Horsewise DVD to give away. And I think as you are about to find out all about the fun of horse ownership, we'll have to give it to you. That comes in much for you. But yeah, but like I said, any questions, guys, anything you want to know, I will be at the modified stand for these hours, so come and see me. I'm more than happy to help. And tomorrow, make sure you go and cheer on Bruce for lending me this beautiful horse. I'm sure you'll all see Jamie again next year with Bruce probably riding him. Jamie's off to be a camp crafter as he gets older. So like I said, he's only